how do you overcome the fear of mistakes? Another way of saying this is the fear of failure. Because this is just something that we all struggle with. Now, some of us are better at it than others, meaning managing the fear. The fear never truly goes away. It just gets duller and if you will, dull. Some people don't feel as much anymore because they have conditioned themselves to handle the fear. And that's what I want to talk about. How do you get to that point where you overcome fear? You don't ever remove fear completely, but you can overcome it by turning the volume down, if you will. And I think there's just two simple ways to do this. I think you could teach on this. You could write a whole book on this, right? And there are books written on this. But I'm just going to simplify it. I think there's two things. Number one, you need to accept that you're going to make mistakes, accept failure, and then you need to analyze what the failure or the mistake will actually output. Meaning, if I make a mistake, and I know I'm going to, right? That's accepting it. What would happen? What would be the worst possible outcome? So let's look at accepting. Let's break this down for just a moment. Folks, there is no path to success and ultimately significance in any field, in any endeavor of life, whether that be your marriage, parenting, personal relationships, physical health, learning a sport, whatever it is, career, work, doesn't matter. There is no progress without failure. It's just the ticket to the dance. I mean, how else do you get better? Folks, we know this. I'm not saying anything around here like, duh, I never heard that before, Ken. That's brilliant. No, there's nothing brilliant about that. But sometimes we take the head knowledge of knowing that in order to get better at something and ultimately get really, really good at something and make a real difference, there are going to be failures, mistakes along the way. So we must accept that. It's just part of the deal. Get over it. You're going to mess up. But what's really important is that we look into, okay, I'm going to make some mistakes. Let's try to anticipate, not in a sense of we're obsessed or we're worried and scared. No, I'm going to make mistakes on this. So what's the worst thing that can happen? I remember in the early days of doing the show that, I'm taking a limited amount of counseling that I've done and coaching and doing it on the air in 5 to 7 minutes. And I remember being very fearful of the mistakes I'm going to make. And I had to say, you know what? I'm not going to be there. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to read something the wrong way. I'm going to misunderstand something, or I'm going to choose the wrong path with that particular caller and maybe spend too much time over here and never really help them. So I accept that that's going to happen, but I analyze that. Okay, what would happen? What's the worst that can happen? And you got to accept that. And then you got to analyze. Okay, you know what? I think I'll help them a little bit. A worst case scenario, I don't help that one person, but it gets me to a place where I can learn to do it better and help way more people. That's the analyzing. Look at it for real and then decide, is this life-threatening? And it usually isn't. It rarely is. So embrace, accept that mistakes will happen, analyze what mistakes could happen as a result of you just showing up and trying to get better, and then say, what's the worst possible scenario? Then it's not so scary. That's how you overcome the fear of making mistakes.